r/AskReddit. Serious, people who've written malicious code, viruses, trojans, etc. What motivated you to do so? If you stopped, what motivated you to stop? The closest thing I've written to malicious was a prank that spelled every key you pressed in all caps. Yes, even letters. X, V, R, L, Alt, Enter, Space, Backspace. It was so funny. It was 1998 and it was a total accident for my Excel macro to escape my desktop and begin infecting Excel workbooks all over the company. I had created a macro to automatically make a backup copy of the active workbook upon saving. The backup copy appeared in my home folder on a network drive. But one day I helped someone in HR with an Excel problem. They sat at my desk. I opened their doc, made a change, and saved it. My autosave macro replicated to their workbook. Now everyone in HR accessed that workbook over the next couple days, and every time they saved it, a copy would show up in my H drive. The macro escaped their department, and the next, and the next. Pretty soon I got a visit from IT admin. My H drive was full. I checked and there were hundreds of workbooks, not mine, but clearly named with my backup file naming convention. I knew instantly what the problem was and had to fess up. My productivity tool cost me an entire weekend of cleanup. That 16 megabytes probably didn't last very long. My hacking was limited to changing the text of a copy of the Oregon Trail computer game to harass some of my classmates. Things like, Beth died of having a big butt. Me and my friends thought it was hilarious. But then we got caught and banned from the computer lab for a while, which was enough motivation to not do it again. I recalled my friend for years. My friend was moving away, and as a prank, I wrote up a script that would wait 10-20 minutes, then play Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. Right before my friend packed up his computer, I installed it as a subtly named Windows startup service. Then he moved and never mentioned it, and I forgot about it after a couple weeks. Several years later he had moved back and a few friends and I were hanging out at his place. He boots up his PC to show us something on YouTube, then says, "Oh, hang on," and opens Task Manager and kills some task. With a somewhat straight face I ask, "What was that you just did?" He explains that he got a virus that sometimes plays the Rick Astley song and he can't get rid of it. At some point he figured out that manually ending a certain process would stop it. I just about died laughing. I can only imagine how many times he must have heard that song. My friends though it was funny too, but they thought it was a little messed up that I put a virus on his computer. I did it once but it wasn't harmful and was intended just for fun. I was in high school. I wrote an April Fool's virus, so it gets triggered by plugging in a USB stick. It copies itself into the computer and starts a timer. I did it on the classroom computer when no one was looking. Easy peasy. Then in the middle of the class, it fires a fake error message. During some slides are open. The message tells that there is something wrong with the system. When teacher clicks OK or dismisses it, the computer restarts itself. Windows starts again and another message gets fired. April Fools. Did you like our joke? When clicked no, it triggers a second reset. Motivation. We had a good laugh about it. I wanted to find love. I discovered an exploit on a dating site I used that allowed me to perform actions on behalf of users simply by loading an image. Originally, I used the exploit to show a video message when they visited my profile, but when that didn't convert into offline dates, I tried a more aggressive tactic. This dating site gave preferential attention to attractive profiles, measured by how many views or likes they received. So I wrote an exploit that would like my profile, then add the exploit to your own profile. I became the most popular profile in an hour, but a mistake in my exploit added the exploit recursively, resulting in exponential requests from users to like my profile. After a couple hours, loading any profile resulted in thousands of requests, multiplied by millions of users, and my exploit ended up crashing the dating site. Oops. The admin calmly contacted me for help reversing and patching the exploit in exchange for not suing me. Not entirely malicious, more so dongish admining. In my teens I used to work at a computer camp for kids. Being kids and that we couldn't see their screens, they'd naturally screw around on the computers as they weren't locked down at all. I wrote a simple app that gave me a remote shell, could do screen caps, take over input, etc. Installed it surreptitiously so they didn't know I had access. I didn't do anything particularly damaging to any of them. The best was when they'd go to dong around playing games. I had some fun crashing them or pausing input at a particularly critical moment. I created a dummy Hotmail login page way back in junior high. I just put it on the school computer desktops as a shortcut saying Hotmail. It would write the entered info to a text document. Some people actually used it. I quit because let's be real, that's not very high-end hacking and was pretty much the best I could do. Nowadays it seems like there are way too many security features in place to prevent that kind of thing. So I don't know if I could be a hacker anymore. But it was a fun challenge as a kid in the early days of the internet. Made me feel uber 1337. Edit. Also, I never had the confidence in my hacking abilities to think that I could get away with it. It was just a silly trick I stumbled upon as a kid and then was like, I'm not good enough to actually do this without getting in serious trouble. Mostly to learn. One of the things I find tough with programming is finding something to do. If you have a job then it's easy. You have bugs to fix, features to add. Someone else tells you what to do and that's great. But if it's just you sitting there, what do? Make a website? Nah, I don't feel like it. Make an awesome looking customizable themed desktop app? Awesome. But what's it gonna do? I dunno. Malicious programs are basically the only thing that's interesting enough for me to look into in my free time. It's also the reason I started programming beyond classes and lessons in the first place. To mess with my classmates mostly. I haven't made anything too malicious. Though I did make a cheat for MW3 at one point. Even though it was posted on public cheating forums, it still took over a year for it to be VAC detected. From that I also learned about obfuscating your code and compiling outside of Visual Studio. It had a tagging system where you'd shove tags into the code, then run a separate program that would look for those tags and fill the space in between with random junk code before compiling to try hide the program from VAC. With each recompile with the program it would essentially be a fresh exe with a different signature and file size. I was pretty happy about that project just because of what I managed to accomplish and what I learned on the way. This makes sense in a horrible way. I find that with programming you pretty much have to have a project and a challenge to keep growing. Most high school technology staff know less than a lot of the kids. They had no network security whatsoever. So as any 14-year-old kid would do, I mapped the network drive and it listed the 4,000 computers connected to the network. For some reason they hadn't blocked us from using remote desktop connection. Needless to say, I had some fun with teachers' computers while they lectured. I did this once back in high school. Motivation, petty revenge and bullying. Stopped when it backfired. There was an annoying kid in my computer science classes. The type who thought he knew it all but was pretty clueless. One day he was complaining that a game he had downloaded required more memory than his home computer had. I told him I'd give him a copy of a utility that would do on-the-fly memory compression in DOS. At the time, a utility called Stacker for disk compression was popular, so memory compression was plausible. Of course, my utility was a Trojan, but I was subtle about it. It was a wrapper that planted the real Trojan payload in the startup file, autoexec.bat. The real Trojan checked the system date, and only detonated if it was a month later than I originally did this. So he wouldn't be tracing the time bomb back to me. The payload was to trash the partition table, rendering all the drives inaccessible and unbootable. I don't know if he actually ran it or if the payload ever went off. The bomb date was in the summer after school ended, but the fun part is the postscript. Years later, my brother was playing with and learning programming, so I gave him a copy of my folder with all my old programs to play with. A few days later he tells me that his computer won't boot. Yikes. I put together a startup floppy disk with a Norton repair utility to start digging, and eventually noticed that the partition table had some corruption that looked oddly familiar. You guessed it. My own brother had run my old nasty Trojan and got his partition table nuked. Editing this in from a subreptly for visibility. How this kid was annoying was to brag about shit that it was obvious to me that he didn't actually know. For assignments in AP Computer Science, he would brag that his program would be better than everyone else's, with fancy colors or run faster or some shit. Then he wouldn't be able to code it and blame the compiler or some other excuse. Teacher was oblivious and bought his crap. I got annoyed enough to attempt more drastic revenge. Didn't write it, but when I was in high school my friends and I came across a virus that when installed would make it so the only thing that could be typed was I am so duck gay. The cruelty of the virus was that you couldn't type in passwords. So if you tried a restart and your computer needed a login, you were screwed. To make it stop, all you had to do was type in stop. My friends and I would troll Yahoo chat rooms and pretend to be underage boys. We'd wait for an older guy to try to get us to send pics and send him the file. This was in the early days of the internet when most people didn't know that a picture file should not be an exe. We'd get so much delight in knowing that we basically bricked some pedophile's computer. We stopped because after doing it enough times it just sort of stopped being as funny and we moved on to better things. Like spamming the chat rooms with SpongeBob theme music. Damn, I miss early internet. Well, in school I wrote a small script that opened 150 tabs of inappropriate windows of Google Chrome. I also wrote a script that displayed a message saying dear student 001 you have created a major error attempting to erase or alter data. The information logged has been sent to principal's name. This dialog had no close option and anytime you tried clicking out it opened another LOL. Wrote a script that would go into a bunch of Excel files and change all the 1s to 2s and 7s to 8s. Also wrote a script that would move my mouse a tiny bit every 5 minutes so I would look like I was at my desk on Link Messenger. Managers always thought I was working. Co-workers offered to buy it off me. Had a boss that was a know-it-all type. He stumped one of us on some mundane software glitch. Can't even remember what now. He had triple monitors and bragged to everyone about his PC skills. I wrote some code to turn his monitors on and off at random times. The best part, and I still don't know why this happened, is the 3 monitors were all turning on and off at different times. It went on for days before he would even tell anyone about his problem. Then he developed theories on little sequences he could do to stop it from happening. As the network admin, I could change the program remotely as he was spitting out theories. It ended when I couldn't contain my laughter anymore. Reasons. Just office paybacks. Pranks. This experience also inspired my boss to learn programming and that was good for everyone. When I was about 12, I, like every PC geek, wanted to be a hacker. So thanks to internet I found a method called phishing. Since Facebook was banned in my school PCS I made a fake Facebook site and bookmarked it that would write every email with passwords on a text file. It worked, but after getting a friend's password and a couple more it began to be boring. I totally forgot about it. Couple weeks later I opened the text file to see at least 100 emails and passwords, which is a lot for a school that had like 700 people. I only remember a friend's password was his crush's name. Years ago when I was a freshman in high school, I made a super basic code thing on Notepad. When the file was opened, it did a pop-up saying something like warning. Viruses detected. Attempting to remove the problem. Error. Could not remove. Deleting all files and then a screen of matrix style scrolling text would go on for a good 15 seconds. Then it would say you're ducked. Goodbye and shut off the computer. And delete itself. I changed its name and logo to look like a Minecraft update. And sent it to about 100 people without them knowing it was me. Most of them fell for it and freaked out. I felt like a hardcore hack 3R for a good week after that, but never did anything else. I want to get into the information security industry. I'm still learning like a lot and I program a lot. So I thought to myself, why not try? So I first wrote a simple keylogger in Python, then something that steals your cookies also written in Python. The more I played around with this stuff the more interested I got. My magnum opus in this stuff is a rootkit I wrote written in C for Linux. TLDR, it's my dream job to become a security expert for the red team so I wrote tools and stuff to help. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.